Hello everybody, welcome aboard. Today's gonna be a rather niche stream, but before that, tell me if you can actually properly hear me and if you can see the screen, and tell me if the music is too loud or too quiet, because all those are things that could go wrong. Today's stream, assuming you can hear me, is going to be more of a discussion rather than anything else, because we're going to be talking about the damage calculator and what we're going to do with it, basically. Okay, I'm starting to question whether or not you guys can actually hear me. Okay, looks like you guys can hear me. All right. So I'm going to start before we get to the crux of the stream. I'm going to give you guys some simple explanation about what we're doing. Hello there. Your name is way too hard for me to pronounce, but hello. So I'm going to explain a little bit about the difference between. Okay, I think that music might be a bit too much. Okay, that's better. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of explanation about the difference between this one and the old version, which was the version 1.0, which is right here. You can also see that I did not know how to use version control back in the old days. Let me, for example, open this one. As soon as this thing opens. Okay, safe. All right, I gotcha. The old version, which is the Python version, had a few very key points about it. One was that I had no idea what I was doing. And thus, I made a really mediocre program, and it has no UI. But aside from those key points, it has the problem of being very linear and non-scalable. So basically, if I wanted to add melee, if I look up melee, oh yeah, the program is a damage calculator. Basically, you give it a Warframe build and it calculates for you how it's going to perform, and then you're going to say, okay, what if I change this mod for another mod? It's going to tell you, okay, it's going to do better or worse. Okay, before I actually do anything, let me actually show it to you. Looks like some of you have not seen it. This is the latest build. This is the one I made today. I made some updates earlier today. Let's say we have a Corinth Prime. Let's say we're going to test it on corrupted heavy gunners just as a placeholder. Let's say 10 of them. Actually, let's make that like 2, because we're going to keep damage display on. Let's say we're going to repeat twice, and the level is going to be like 100. And then you're going to give it a build. For example, I'm going to give it prime base damage. Let's go galvanized multi-shot, prime crit damage, corrupted crit chance. Let's go corruptive fire rate and prime reload, and then just go a simple corrosive setup with toxin and electricity. And let me save that build. This is the build I recommended in the latest, or it was the latest. It was the 2022's recommended weapons for each mastery rank. So as you saw, it happened very fast, but it basically gives you all the damage numbers, it gives you all the buffs, it gives you whatever you tell it to do, it's gonna do it. And then you can tell it, for example, to repeat 50 times on headshot and test all. Okay, that might be a bit intense for the stream. Let's put that on, I don't know, like 25 maybe, just for showcase purposes. And let's say repeat count of 100. Okay, I'll have to disable that. Okay. So it's going to do the test, and when the test is done, it's going to show us the results, which is going to happen any second now. Okay, it went to the heavies, now solos. Okay, there it is. So we can see that this test with these mods gave us 43.6 seconds. This sum is seconds. A lot of people got confused by what this sum is. It's the addition of all these numbers up here, the normal ones and the heavy ones. So you add all those up, you get the sum. So this 43.6 is how good your weapon is, basically. So if I was to go back and change, I don't know, fire rate for something else, let's say instead of corrupted fire rate, I use, where is galvanized crit chance? Galvanized crit chance? Oh yeah, do shotguns not have galvanized crit chance? They might not have galvanized crit chance. But let's say we swap. But aside from those things, this is what it does. It just gives you the performance of your build. This is how I'm going to make the new recommended series, which is probably going to be split up into way more parts than the last one, because the last one was just primary, secondary, and melee. But this one will probably be like rifles, shotgun, bows, etc., etc., and then the secondary. I'll probably not split up secondaries as much, because there'll probably be less of them. I think there's less secondaries than primaries, though somebody might have to correct me on that. Okay, apologies for that. Yeah, my internet connection is having a little bit of a hiccup there. Okay, I think maybe it should be good now. I think it will work now. Okay, apologies for that. Yes, Redrum. I'm looking forward to it too, because it's a massive project that's going to take a massive amount of time to finish. So the faster I can finish it, the better. But on the other hand, the faster I finish it, the more burnt out I'm going to get. Okay, so I was saying, I'm going to back out of this thing for now and show you some, some backstory. This was the original one. This was the original, and believe it or not, it's significantly faster than the new one. But being faster doesn't necessarily mean being better, which is why I made the new one. The new one is way more robust. It's way easier to develop in. For example, if I wanted to develop melee, it would probably take me just a few days. Yeah. The Warframe has gotten a lot of updates since the last time I made a recommended series, and with the Duviri existing now, a lot more builds will be relevant, because people will be forced to use a lot of different weapons. So aside from the usual recommended for each mastery rank, I might as well just do one and give builds for every weapon in existence without having as much commentary, obviously, because if I was to add as much commentary, it would take like 5 hours of video time to finish that. So this is the old one, and as I was saying, it's way faster, because first of all, it doesn't have a UI, and secondly, it's not in real time, which means the entire concept of time in here is just math, which causes a whole lot of problems. For example, if I was to look up slash and then do this, okay, not that, this is how big a simple slash proc is in the code, and this has to be repeated for melee. It has to be repeated, I think it also had to be repeated for glaives and gunblades, because they were more complex than this. But in the new code, it's really simple. Let me bring that up. Where is my scripts? Let's open this one, so Visual Studio will show up and show us how much easier it is to make something in C# than it is in Python, where there is no time by itself. If I go to enemy.cs and just look up slash, okay, not that slash, okay, here, that's it. This tiny thing is all it takes, and it doesn't have any complex loops like that one either. It's super simple, so which means I can develop it rather quickly. So yeah, that's what I have, a program. And this whole stream was supposed to be a discussion, but it looks like there's not actually that many people here to keep up a discussion, so I'll just explain stuff, I guess. It's good experience, because I'm actually very bad at streaming, because I'm new to it, and every second of me trying to keep up streaming is probably very educational. Not for you necessarily, not for you guys, but for me, because I'll be learning, and that's the whole point of this, learning. I've been making a lot of features recently, specifically in the last 2 months, between the part 2 of the work in progress and the part 3 of the work in progress. If you didn't know, I made videos which almost nobody watched, but I showed you guys what I've been doing and what I've developed in the code. Let me close this. I've come up all the way to multi-stage weapons, and I have rifles and shotguns thus far. Next up will probably be AoE weapons, and after that snipers. Because as you'll see here in my GitHub page, it's not exactly public, but now which I'm showing it to you, implement AoE test. So that's going to be when I'm going to develop an AoE test. But after that, I'm going to move forward maybe to UI elements. Is it your own personal program, or is it available to download and use? The last version is available to download and use right now. You can go to my channel and find a video about it and then just download it under there. Or yeah, you can download there. And whenever I finish this program, the version that I finish on, I'll make it public. The same way I did with the last version. As soon as I finished it, I made it public. But anything past the finish line is a question mark. If people want it, I will improve it. But if people don't want it, then there's no point to it then. And I'm also thinking about setting up channel membership or something like that. Oh, hello there, guy, which name is also difficult to pronounce. It doesn't even have a vowel. How am I supposed to say that? I'll just call you Mr. Z. Okay, how about that? Okay, hello there, Mr. Z. So whenever it's finished, I'll make it public, but after that, if I set up something akin to channel membership, I'll probably get requests there if somebody wants it. Otherwise, okay, if you say so, I'll call him Co. Otherwise, it is what it is then. Because I'm not going to continue developing a program that nobody's going to use. Because if you remember, the last project, the Python one, the one that's already in the channel and I've used it to make the previous recommended series, that took 9 months. Yeah, count that, 9 months. So it was not something that you can whip up rather quickly. And this one is, how many months is this thing in development? Let me actually check. Okay, Co will do then, Mr. Co. The development became serious, I think, ever since January, maybe February, but so yeah, at the minimum 4 months, maybe 5. And it'll probably take just as many more to finish this thing. Probably around 9 to 10 months to have it completely finished, make all the UI stuff, and all the code behind it. So yeah, expect a long wait before it's finished, but whenever it is finished, it's going to be good. Though I don't have to finish it to make videos about it, so as soon as primaries are good to go, I'll make the primary series. As soon as the secondaries are good to go, the secondaries are a go. And last but not least, Melee. It's funny because the first time I made the recommended series, the Melee got the most views. The second time, it became primary because they nerfed Melee so much that people started using their primary weapons more often. So yeah. Yep, it's going to be rather interesting because a lot of things in Warframe are nearly impossible to test on your own. Let me give you some examples. Let me bring up the program once again. Let's say we have a... Well, what should we use? Should we just use Stradivar, I guess? Yeah, Stradivar will do. Let's go full auto. Full auto Stradivar. Yeah, these test results are fine. Okay. Tatsu, that's a melee. We don't have melees yet. Okay, Mr. Ko has a question, but... Okay, let me pull up the chat. It's too small, I can't see it actually. Okay, I can see it now. Unrelated question, but... Is the Exodia Contagion viable later on? Because I've been using it for some time now, and it won't be anything I throw it into. Up to level 60, I think. I didn't go higher. Level 60 isn't really a level I would use that specific tactic, because at that point just use an AoE weapon, use Tonkor, use Brahma, use Ogress. They do the same thing but better at that level. But I've heard Contagion goes way higher, it scales way further than level 60. It most likely goes even past Steel Path. However, there are certain conditions that you have to meet before that thing becomes as viable, and it might as well be a little bit clunky because it's not as simple as just shoot. It's more like jump, aim, melee, so it's a lot slower, but it gives you bigger numbers. Though you also have to consider that you need distance from your target, which is also kind of questionable. But at the end of the day, it is possible to use it. Yes, you can use it. Though I'm not one to really advise on using it because I personally don't use it. I find it way too clunky for my taste. So yeah, back to what I was talking about. I was talking about when you have base damage, and let's say galvanized multi-shot, give it 2 crit mods, okay, this one, and crit damage. Now, which elements should you use? Some people say use corrosive, some people say use viral, some people say use magnetic. Okay, nobody says use magnetic, but it is technically a possibility. So what should you use? And a lot of people say use heat in combination with viral or corrosive. So what about that? How does that work? How about radiation? It's a very complicated question because, yeah, a lot of people have been using viral. This specific weapon has a decent amount of status chance, so I'm actually going to use a Toxin 90, or maybe not a Toxin 90. Yeah, Toxin 90, because if I use cold, corrosive doesn't have cold, 165 mod, so that wouldn't be fair. So let's say Toxin, and then cold 60-60. Okay, so the question is, how would this compare between a Toxin 90 cold 60-60 and a Toxin 90 cold 90? Now, which is better? That's almost impossible to answer without having something like this. The difference might not be a large amount, but it's still a difference, and that this program can allow you to calculate. So, with this build, it gave us a 90.22 on this test. Okay, we're gonna go back. We're gonna take this cold and make it a 90 version, and now press next again. If I had to guess, I would say most likely these two are really similar, these two results, but let's find out, I guess, because I cannot predict what will happen. When I was testing the latest recommended series, I figured out that a lot of builds that I thought are good are actually not good. And a lot of things and tactics that we use commonly, okay, I think it's nearly, oh, look at that, 90.22 to 90.43. That is almost within the margin of error. Almost. It's just a little bit past the margin of error. Yeah. So it makes not much of a difference. But what if I made it a 165? How about that? Will that make a significant difference? So, for example, in melee specifically, I've been using a lot of condition overload in a lot of my builds. But turns out, at level 100, it's not really that good of an idea to use condition overload on most weapons. Not all cases, but on most weapons, condition overload will not give you an optimal result. Have a look at these test results. 75. From 90 to 75. That's how much of a difference this primed cold makes, because it's 165 instead of 90. So here's another question. What if I make this infected clip, which is the Toxin 90, into a cold 66, not a cold, a Toxin 60-60? Will that make a significant difference? Where is my Toxin? Okay, there it is. I can already tell it does make a difference, and it'll probably be significantly better. Okay, significantly might be a bit of an overstatement, but it's probably going to be better because we have a lot of elemental damage, so this will help out with status chance. Now, let's see if my guess is correct. We shall find out, and kinda, a little bit. Not by a lot, but it is better. By a tiny amount. But still better, so we have to consider this. Another thing that I would like to show you is, for example, critical delay. Whoops. Critical delay, which is this thing right here. It gives you 200% crit chance and then reduces your fire rate. Or we could use point strike, which gives us 150% but doesn't reduce our fire rate. Now, which one is better? Normally, you wouldn't be capable of testing that because as you test it, okay, difference is negligible because your human accuracy is not that much. Now, let's try it now. Though we have to consider that this is not a finished build, like we don't have other mods, we have 2 empty slots, but just with these 6 mods, let's find out what we can do. And any minute now. Now have a look at that. Yeah, it's gonna be useful, and indeed, a computer is a much better analyst than we are. It's a much better test. It can simulate the game much faster than the game itself can let you simulate it. Okay, have a look at this. It went from we reduced our crit chance and we got a better test results. Let that sink in. Reducing our crit chance improved our test results. Why? Because we have more fire right now. But the question is, the GitHub repository is private because I'm actually worried about licensing problems, because I'm not sure how it's going to turn out if somebody else helps out in the GitHub repository. What will happen to the license? Because I'm not quite sure on that. I kept it on the private, and another reason for it is that the whole purpose of me doing this is for me to learn doing it, because I want to learn game development, and this is the best way to do it, because I've made this in Unity, which is a game engine, and as soon as this project is done, I'll probably go right ahead and make a small game for myself. Okay, so let's go back, and we have this point strike right here. Okay, so what if we were to add, where's my corrupted fire rate? Here it is. If we add corrupted fire rate, will that make it so we can use critical delay and get a better test result, or will the point strike still be better with vile acceleration, which is our corrupted fire rate, which gives us 90% fire rate and reduces our base damage by 15%. But that 15% is not a multiplier, mind you. It's just 15% less in serration. It's the equivalent of just doing 1 lower rank for serration, I think. Okay. So first off, we're going to see the test results for this, which is probably going to be significantly better. Any minute now. Come on, you can do it. Come on. Okay, there we go. 47. Have a look at that. We went from 70 to 47 with 1 mod. That's almost... Okay, it's not quite half the time, but it's nearly half the time. Before we actually go to the crit chance... Oh, hello there, Narby. It's okay to be underrated if what you make is enjoyable. The process of making it is a lot of enjoyment and you learn stuff. If it's underrated or not makes little difference. So before I actually go further into the point strike, we have to figure out if we can swap another fire rate mod, and maybe that will give us a better result. So instead of vile acceleration, which a lot of people are scared of because, oh, 15% loss in damage, oh no! Instead of that, we could just use normal fire rate, which is, I think, 60% on rifles. Speed trigger, yeah, I think it's 60%. Instead of 90 with negative 15% serration damage, we could just use a 60, and let's see how that goes. If I had to guess, it's not going to be any better than the vile acceleration, because that 15% is insignificant because we're already adding base damage, and 60 and 90, that's 1.5 in terms of boost. Indeed, and I was right, because if you remember, I made a program before like this and I tested every single weapon with almost every single build that I could come up with. So that's why I know a lot of these. So we had 90% fire rate with negative 15%, which is still better than 60% without the damage loss. So a little bit of damage loss is fine. Alrighty, so back to vile acceleration we go. Where is it? Where is it? Corrupted fire rate. I lost it. Okay, there it is. Corrupted fire rate. So how about we use critical delay now? Will it be better than point strike? That's a good question. Now let's find out the answer. If I had to guess, I would probably say no. But this one is a little bit hard to figure out because sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no. You'll have to check it every time. Okay, let's see. Was it this one? Yep, it was this one. It went from 46.69 to 48.28. So yeah, I was right. It is worse. Just using normal point strike is better. So you see, sometimes mods that have negatives are better options, but sometimes mods that have negative are not the better option. You have to try it out every time, otherwise you will have no idea. Okay, one thing that I am planning on doing is right before uploading the recommended series, like before it's finished, when I'm in the testing phases, when the project is done for that specific category at least, and I want to make a video on it, I'll be live and I'll test at least some weapons live so people can see how I'm actually doing it. And for example, if you want a specific build, I can try it for you, because a lot of people show up in the comment section, oh, you gotta try this. Okay, just show up live, tell me, I'll test it for you, and boom, I'll show you if it's better, and I'll show you if it's not better, and why. Because usually you can extrapolate the reasons behind it, but not always. Sometimes it's far too complex. Where is Galvanized Aptitude? Here it is. It's actually quite useful on these high fire rate weapons, but if your fire rate is too low, this Galvanized Aptitude is not going to be a good idea. Where is Galvanized Scope? Yes, Galvanized Scope. So we had this build, right? It's missing one mod. What mod would that be? Let's see. We had base damage, Elven multi-shot, crit chance, crit damage. Probably another elemental? Oh, it would be Galvanized Status, actually. Galvanized Status. And if we're using Galvanized Status, okay, before I go to the next section, I'm going to show you what this thing will look like. And afterwards, I'll check if removing Malignant Force, which is our Toxin 6060, for a Toxin 90 is a better idea. Because, you know, Galvanized Status gives you status chance. By the way, don't you worry, by the end of this project, I'll have a UI panel right here, which will give you all the updated stats, just like you have it in Warframe, but I just haven't developed it yet. You might have seen it right here. It says UI stat for weapons. That's what that will be. Whenever this goes there, you'll have it. Okay, let's test this. So we're gonna find out if how much of a difference Galvanized Status actually makes in this instance. And okay, it went from I was using critical delay. I should have swapped to point strike, but I didn't swap to point strike. But let's hypothetically say we are going to get stuck with critical delay. In-game images, no, that's not going to be quite possible, because first of all, there's way too many of them and it's going to be a lot of work. Aside from that, getting the background images behind the text, I don't think that's possible or legal. Yeah, it's probably illegal actually, because those are in-game assets. I cannot use them in my own project. Yeah, that's not going to be legal, because everything in this project belongs to me. The math, you cannot copyright math, and none of these names are copyrightable, so it's fine. But if I add something from the game in it, that's going to be illegal. So it went from 48 to 35. But what if I made this Malignant Force into a Toxin 90? Would that be better? If I had to guess, I would say yes. It would be better. Don't you worry about it, Mr. Co. It's not a big deal. Everybody makes mistakes. We're not perfect. We come up with ideas, and sharing your ideas is what matters. Because if it's a good idea and you don't say it, that's much worse than saying it and it being not a good idea. Okay? Okay. Now, let's see. If I had to guess, I would say this is going to be better because you already have status chance. But I could be wrong. I'm not always correct in this kind of thing because it's way too complicated. Oh, would you look at that? I was wrong. It's worse. By a minuscule margin, but it is worse. So I'm going to keep it on that 60-60. So one more time, you have to check what happens if we swap it for point strike. But let me put that Toxin 60-60 back there. And where is point strike? There it is. Okay. One more test. Come on. You can do it. I believe in you. 34.1. So yeah, even at this stage, swapping critical delay for point strike is a significant matter. By the way, I forgot one thing. The tests that you're seeing with automatic weapons are not the same tests as they used to be. You want to know why? Because of this thing right here. It's called targeting delay, which means when you're shooting one guy and then aiming at the next guy, it will take you like 0.5 seconds, something like that, to aim at the second guy and shoot it. That delay, believe it or not, is so important, it's almost unbelievable. Because if I remove that delay, every weapon becomes an aimbot, which means automatic weapons are going to be stupid busted, which also means they'll get test results that are completely impossible. But with this, it's much closer to reality. I actually cannot believe that I didn't come up with this idea for the last project, because it's such an obvious solution. You cannot be an aimbot, just implement something that prevents the target being shot by an aimbot. Just like that. But I didn't come up with it. But now, which I did, all the tests are on fair grounds. Because in the last one, semi-automatic weapons were getting much higher test results. By higher, I mean worse, because it's longer, it's duration, it's kill time. And as a result, it looked like that the heavy-hitting semi-automatic guns are bad. But actually, they're surprisingly good. They might even be better than automatic weapons because they're easier to use. So yeah, I'm quite excited to test all the automatic weapons and comparing with the semi-automatic weapons. Yeah, it turns them to Mesa Peacemaker, exactly. And just consider like a Tenora Prime having an aimbot. Yeah, that's how you get kill times that are less. I don't exactly remember. Okay, I don't remember it, but I can look it up. Okay, I have all the test results saved here. Tenora Prime Auto. Kill time of 16.66. Do you know for how many targets? Let me count. 20 there, another 20 there, another 30. For 20 Grenier, it took 4 seconds. For 20 Corpus, it took 3 seconds. For 20 Corrupted, no, for 16 Corrupted, it took 3 seconds, 3.5 seconds. If I go ahead and test this exact build again, it will not get something like this. So let's actually do it. So let me make this so it doesn't disappear. Okay. Base down. Oh, actually, let's go back. Let's pick up Tenora Prime, fully spooled up. Okay, there we go. And everything's correct here. Okay, Serration, Galvanized Chamber, that's correct. Critical Chance, Point Strike, that's correct. Vital Sense. And Toxin 6060, okay. Cold 165. Galvanized. It's the exact same build. Okay, a lot of these AoE weapons have this exact same build if they are a hybrid weapon, meaning they have both crit chance and styles chance. So let me remove this thing. Let me actually save this for Tenora as well. There we go. By the way, these things I'm saving, they're directly saved to hard drive. If I go there and inside of database, and here's weapon builds, this little string, it has all the builds you saved. If I was to, at the end of this, I was to copy this and then just give it to you, you would have all these builds. Just like that. So yeah, let's test this. Okay, wait a second, what? Why is this? Excuse me? Did I not set this up? I could have sworn I set this up. Okay, I just remember why it's not working. Okay, I know now. It's not working because it's an editor value. Yeah, it was faster because the weapon was killing the enemies faster. As I told you, it's real time. It's just time scaled. For example, it's 100 times real time. If the real time version is slower, so it becomes slower as well. That's why I was saying this program is a lot slower. Let me go there, not there. Okay, here. Let me bug template. Test variables such as, what was it called? Targeting delay. should be set up inside the code rather than in editor. Okay. Put it in start function. Okay, there we go. Submit that. And come here. The reload page. Nope, there it is. And tomorrow, probably, in the morning, I'll probably fix that and it'll be done. Okay, so 0.5 here. Let's hope it works this time. You can see that delay because it's also an actual delay. It's not like a virtual delay or anything. Okay. Now look at that difference. It went from 17 to 49. Now let's actually redo that Stradivar and see how much of a difference that makes for Stradivar. Remember, this is the normal Stradivar. It's not Stradivar Prime or anything. It's just the normal Stradivar. I didn't save it? Oh, it's the same build, so it doesn't matter, but let me save it anyway. Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. Is this the best build for Stradivar? I'm not quite sure. Okay, let me close that. Okay, Stradivar Auto. Base damage, multi-shot, yep, it's the same build. You can see that a lot of these have the same build, so let's save that too. Okay, it was, did I select the correct weapon? Correct weapon, correct targeting delay. And another test. Okay, come on now. How much of a difference that makes? It was 34.2-ish. Something like that. 66. Okay, that's a big difference. 34.1 to 66. And that Tenora became 49. Yikes. The difference is massive, isn't it? And by the way, the reason that this is 17 and not 16.6 like the last version is Corpus. In the last version, the Corpus shield gate was incorrect. So it was giving you more damage than you deserved. And that's one thing. Let me ask you guys. Do you guys know how shield gate works? It's a real simple question with a really complex answer, actually. What happens if you body shot a Corpus Tech and it goes past the shield? What does the same happen if you headshot? If you go to the wiki, the information there is incorrect. Because the developers said it's like that, but it's not like that. I tested it and it's not. The reality of the situation is, when you headshot... Oh, both of you guys are new then. Okay, that's not a problem. I can explain it. I'm good at explaining. At least I like to think that I'm good at explaining. Okay, when you body shot a Corpus Tech and you go past the shield, any remaining damage that you finish the shield. Okay, is this... Okay, I'm doing my best, but I just noticed that the internet speed is just falling out of control, out of my control at least. As you could probably tell, we don't have the best internet where I am. Okay, give me a moment. I'm going to do a little bit of debugging on my internet. Can you hear me now? Well, if you can, the video quality is probably terrible because the bitrate is dropping way below what it should be. Okay. Okay. No? Can you guys hear me now? Ahem. Okay, is this going to work? It looks like it's not going to work very well. It might be that the hour is not a very good fit for streaming. Okay. Any good now? Can you hear the music? Because the music should be on. Okay, it looks like that my service provider has decided that they want to do something for some reason. And now it's fine again. I have no idea what's going on. Though, as a rule of thumb, whenever I'm streaming, just do know that my internet is not good due to where I live. I live basically in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, what was I talking about? Yeah, I was talking about Tenora and how it can kill 20 enemies in 3 seconds, and then you set up a, what is it called? Targeting delay. You set up a targeting delay, and boom, it's 12 seconds now, because you can't aim that fast. Even if you have perfect consistency with your aim, you're not going to aim fast enough to kill enemies in like 3 seconds. That's not a thing. You cannot do that. If you do that, the game will probably immediately ban you because it'll think you're using an aimbot. Looks like the stream's been going on for almost an hour now. And the internet seems to be getting worse and worse. So maybe I'll finish the stream any minute now. Any final questions, guys? Oh yeah, and to that one guy that asked where they can access this, Emperor Cosmos. You asked where you can access it to test your own builds. This current version is not available yet because it's not finished, but the older version, which is the Python version, version 1.0, is available. It's on my channel. So I think he's not here anymore because the current viewer numbers are 2. Okay, I think that's a good enough point to end the stream. Considering that it went for almost an hour, good enough. And I did give you guys a few tidbits of information, though not much, and at the end we had quite a bit of a hiccup with the internet connection, so we'll call it a win. Any final questions, guys? If you have any final questions, it's time to do it. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to provide. This is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for me as well. It's been a pleasure as well. I'll see you guys next time then. Expect 4 months, maybe 5. Like start to finish 9 months, probably, maybe 10. But for the first setup, oh, if internet allows me, yes, I will explain that before I leave. ETA and completion is probably 9 months, but for the first set of videos to come out, it'll probably be another 2 months, maybe 3. I'm not quite sure. It depends how it goes. About the shield gates, if you body shot a shield and shield gates trigger, your spillover damage will be divided by 50. So if it was 100, now it is 2. And the devs claim, or at least they say, if you headshot, your spillover will 100% spill over with no reduction. But that's a massive lie. That's not how it works. Here's the funny bit. The game will tell you that you did the damage. The damage number will not be reduced, but the damage will be reduced. I was actually thinking about making a video on that, how the UI says you're doing X damage while you're not doing X damage because that enemy doesn't even have that much health. So it should die, but it doesn't, which means you're not actually doing that much damage. It's a really funny story, but it's not really a long one. Maybe a short video? I'm not quite sure on that. I might make a video on that, or I might not. It depends how it goes. And they say that the shield gate goes to full spillover, and then I checked and it's 25%. Instead of 100%, it's 25%. That's a big difference. That means even if you're headshotting, you're only getting a quarter damage. No, it's not a bug, because to have a bug, it would have to run a different course. But they specifically set it up in a way to tell you that it does the damage, but not actually do the damage. So this way, it will be really hard for people to realize, but they're not actually doing the damage that they think they're doing. It's kind of a scandalous way of doing it. And it's not completely impossible for it to be a bug, but I don't think it's a bug, because it would be quite difficult to set something like that as a bug. All right. Any other questions? Because if there are no questions, I'll call it a day. Okay, I'm gonna wait a few more seconds, and then we're gonna call it a day. Okay, looks like there are no more questions. So I'll see you guys next time, and bye bye.